Hello Flosstube, it's me again, Jen from Jen's Stitching Niche, and I'm here to record my third video. First I want to thank all those new subscribers, that's so exciting, and all the nice comments. It's fun to do this, it's fun to get feedback from individuals, and actually it's fun to hear your name. So 2 people that I know of gave shout outs for me. One was Michelle Rudy from the Farm Girl, so thank you, Michelle. That meant so much to me. One of my heroes recognized me. So, and then also Kara from Kay's Cross Stitch. Thank you so much. I love your videos as well. Plus her advice on the different drinks at the beginning of her new ones have been fun too. So thank you very much to everyone. What I want to do on this video is to share some of my finishes and some of my WIPs, as well as answer some of the questions I got from people that have left comments, which is exciting that people are interested in what I'm interested in. So I'm going to go through and answer some of the questions, and then I'll get to the actual WIPs. I also have some stash. I went on that long trip. It wasn't as long. We actually didn't go to Wyoming. My car broke down, and my younger son, who we were doing the trip for, told us, oh, that's fine. He didn't want to go anyway. So I flew to Salt Lake City for the conference and flew back, and then my older son and I drove to Dubuque, Iowa, which was a 2-day drive there and 2 days back, but that was fun. While I was in Salt Lake City, I'd rented a car and I drove up to Ogden and went to Shepherd's Bush. So I have some things to share from spending 3 hours at Shepherd's Bush. But let me get to those questions and answers. So first question I'm going to answer is from Joan Clark, and she wanted to know if the Elizabeth Milner piece, the sampler that had all the errors, and then I told the story of how we thought it was maybe the one she hung up when a suitor that she wasn't interested in may visit. That is still available. It's from Shakespeare's Peddler. It's Elizabeth Milner. I have copies of the pattern in my Etsy store, but other shops have them too. I know the Shakespeare's Peddler's patterns have been harder to get, but there are shops that have them. When I was at Shepherd's Bush, they had a lot of them, but you're welcome to order it from me as well. Maxine wanted me to talk a little bit about the way I stitch. So I stitch in hand. Literally, I just hold the linen in hand and stitch on it. I'm going to show you all that in just a minute. But I started stitching that way in the 90s, and I very rarely use a hoop for cross stitching. I have a large piece that I'm working on that I use, but otherwise I just in hand. And she wanted to know how I start and end thread. It's just the way, you hold the tail on the back and then you just loop it as you make your first few stitches. That's how I start. And how I stop is just I run the needle underneath the threads at the back, and that's how I end the thread. Now, I watched Vanna's latest video where she showed you how to do the diagonal pin stitch, and I do that now as well. That's really nice. But I wasn't familiar with that until I started watching Flosstube. Betty Ulan wanted to she made a comment about the Stacy Nash Cherry Hollow Farm kit that I was stitching on. She said she got that and stitched it, and the fabric's a little small. So if you're doing that, or if you're going to start that, she suggests that you be really careful and not come in too far if you're starting in the corner, to make sure you measure, because her piece was smaller than what she preferred. Darlene Bumgardner. Hello, Darlene. She's commented on both of my videos, and she was just sharing that she has a lot of samplers and a lot of cross-stitch pieces. So, Darlene, if you're not making a video, you should, to share your 100 samplers and 300 framed pieces with us. That would be exciting to see. If you do have a Flosstube channel, just let me know. I would love to see your work. Melissa Sine, I hope that's the way you pronounce it. She made a comment about the Mill Hill gingerbread house that I showed in my last video, and I don't know where the chart is. I don't have it anymore, and I'm almost positive it's one of those little booklets that they had in the 90s with multiple pieces, because I have several Christmas pieces that are similar, not gingerbread, but they're Mill Hill, that came out of that chart. And I've looked on eBay and I've Googled and everything since I read your comment, and I can't find anything either. I'll see if either one of my sisters has the chart, because we kind of trade them around. But I'm sorry, I don't know what the name of it is. Sorry. And then Melody Stewart. Hey, Melody, we met at one of Katrina's retreats. I don't know the full name, and I'm sorry, I should have looked this up, but my brain's not working. But she and I met at a retreat in February in Orange Beach, Alabama. So, hey, Melody, it's kind of cool to see you again on Flosstube. So, I'm going to one of Katrina's retreats in June. So in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we're going to go up to Franklin, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville, to one of her retreats. So I'm excited about that. Kind of sad about not being able to go to either the Flosstube retreat or now Mama Joan and Farm Girl, Michelle Rudy's retreat. That sounds like a lot of fun. Retreats are fun in general. I've been to a couple at Silver Needle, and they were fun. And I went to a couple when Teresa was doing retreats through her shop, Shakespeare's Peddler. So it's just fun to be around people who like to do the same kind of needlework and things like that. So those are some comments to answer and questions to answer from subscribers and viewers. So thank you very much. Leave comments and questions below if you have any. So we'll get to the stitching. So what I'm going to do, I have some frame pieces and just some in general finished pieces to share with you, and then I have some of the work I'm going to be some of the WIPs I'm going to be working on this week, and then I'm going to share my stash or my haul, what I bought at Shepherd's Bush. So the first thing I want to share is an older piece, and it has a little bit of a story, and it's a lesson on reading the instructions. So I got married in 1990. I was 19 years old, and I started working. I was in college, and so I was working at a craft store, and I found this pattern at the craft store, and saw that it was stitched on linen, which I wasn't familiar with. I'd always stitched on Aida at that time, and I decided I was going to do that. So as you can see in the background, my puppy's decided she wants to get out. So let me open the door for her. Sorry. All right, Sarah. Okay, sorry about that. So I bought the linen, and I started stitching like I stitched on Aida without reading. And I stitched this 2/1 on 28 count linen. This is Paula Vaughn, the quilter. And it looks fine. I mean, if you get close enough, you can see that those stitches are really, really tight. But I stitched this for my granny because she was a quilter. And she thought it was beautiful and displayed it in her house. And then when she passed away, my aunt went to her house and got it and brought it to me because she was afraid that it would be sold at a garage sale or something. So thank you to my Aunt Brenda for bringing that back to me. But every time I look at it, I think of my granny. Now my other two frame pieces are part of a series, and this is from Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread, and it's her Sampler of the Seasons series. So this is the first one I stitched, and this is Sampler of the Seasons Spring. You can see the little quilt at the bottom, but it's so cute. And I like the spacing. There's a lot going on, but there's a lot of space. And this is 40 count vintage exemplar from Lakeside Linens. And I entered that in a fair. Got a blue ribbon. So sweet, sweet. And then I finished the winter from the same series. So, and I love this one. And when I framed it, I didn't take that one, the other one, to the framer, and we got the frame a little smaller than I would have liked, but it's still pretty. Little snowflakes in the snow. And this is something we don't see in South Mississippi, you know. We get about that much snow, literally, less than an inch. So and I've got the other two that I'm working on, and hopefully we'll finish those in the next 2 years, hopefully. All right, another finish that's almost fully finished is this one. It's out of the Just Cross Stitch Halloween issue. I think this one's from either 2013 or 2014, but it's Crow on a Pumpkin. I don't know the designer. I'm sorry, I should have looked that up. But I used a whole bunch of different sampler threads from their limited edition for the little leaves and even for the pumpkin. So I completely changed it up. So I'm using some of those limited edition threads that just accumulate. I still want to put something across here and maybe a sunflower button, but I haven't found the right ribbon yet. And this actually was, I just bought this piece of fabric at Joann's, and then we had some coffee left over, so I just poured it into a container and soaked this over the rest of the day and just coffee dyed it. I thought it turned out perfect because this was stark white and black, and now it looks more prim. So I was really happy with that. And another finish for May was this little guy. This is from Little House Needleworks Gingerbread Trio, and I started it and decided I really didn't like the whole piece, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. So I called my sister, Bridget, my younger sister, who always talks me through these things, and we decided it would be okay just to finish that one and make an ornament. So cute. I just need to make it into an ornament. And then my other finish for this month is Matilda Hornbuckle. This is also from one of the Just Cross Stitch Halloween issues. I think this one's 2014. And this is not Forgotten Farm. So Michelle from the Striped Rose, I finished him. Excuse me. So cute. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I might make some type of little, I don't know. I'll figure something out. So cute. And that's just on a piece of 30 count or 28 count raw linen from my hoard, I guess you could say, my stash over there. All right, so those are my finishes. Not a lot of finished. I try to get 2 finishes a month, even if they're the smallest finishes possible, but they still count. That's what my goal is this year. But I have been stitching some. With me traveling and with the end of the semester and the beginning of the next semester all within the last 3 weeks, I haven't been able to get as much done. But I am working on some things. And one piece that I pulled out, I haven't stitched on in a long time, that I just love this piece. I didn't realize how much I loved it, and I was so glad when I pulled this out, is a Stacy Nash piece. And this is an older sampler that she made. It's called Grace Bridges Sampler. And this is how far I've gotten. And I just love that big red bird. I love the alphabet and the spacing. They're all spaced out. And I'm starting on that mustard yellow house. Now the pattern, this is the pattern. So I'm about here. So I've got this house and then all of this to do. And I'm stitching this on a piece of Lakeside linen. I'm not sure what it is. I didn't keep the label, and I didn't write it down, which I should have. But this is an old pattern. I don't have any of these in my Etsy store, but I know when I was at Shepherd's Bush, they had several of them. So pretty, pretty. Love that. I wish I could stitch more on that, but it has to go away because I have 120 WIPs and I have to spend time with each of those. So I'll get back to that one soon. All right, so some of the things I'll be stitching on this week. One of the things I'm stitching on is a Praiseworthy Stitches Croaking Toad Manor. This is one of my mini WIPs, and I got this 4 years ago, 2014, 3 years ago at the Silver Needle Retreat. My younger sister, who is a slow stitcher, really loves these, and she's like, I really want to do one, and I told her I would get one and stitch it if she would stitch it, so we agreed. And I'm the only one that started, and I haven't gotten very far, but I'm stitching this on 32 count Mirage, and that's as far as I've gotten, so it'll get about an hour or two this week. But I think those 2 little girls in that carriage are cute. Cute, cute. And it's just DMC, I think. Almost all DMC. Another thing I'm working on is from Samplers Not Forgotten. And this was released in 2015, maybe. It's Birdsong. It was a market exclusive or a market special. And I was there with Teresa and a couple of other people, and everybody's like, oh, we need to get these. So this is the right side. This is just as far as I've gotten. And this is a piece of 40 count, maybe Coco from WIPS WIPS. Maybe. So not very far. And I keep thinking whether or not I really want to stitch this. I love it, but I don't know if I love it. So we'll see. I'll stitch on it another day, another week, and see how I do. See if it's got the date on here. I don't see the date, but I think it's 2015. I know that when they released it, they had WIPS WIPS had a special thread pack to go along with it. All right, now another WIP that I'm going to be working on this week is Blackbird Designs Halloween Eve, and I don't like this part. Now I saw this stitched up at another shop in Salt Lake City, and it was pretty, but I don't like that pumpkin. So what I'm doing is I'm only stitching to here, and then I'm going to come down and pick up this bottom part maybe. I don't know if that's going to be too busy. It's either going to be here and I'll just run this little zigzag line underneath, or I'll pick up this little lacy part at the bottom. But I love the alphabet and the other parts. And this is as far as I've gotten. And this actually looks, I think this is 40 count either, I don't know, I'm sorry, maybe tin roof or putty. But that's one of the WIPs for the week. And then another one that I'm working on this week is the Garden Club series from Blackbird Design, and I'm actually on the 7th one. And this is my progress on the 7th one, which isn't very much, but my overall progress is not too shabby. That's as far as I've gotten. And I do know the name of this fabric. This is 36 count Autumn Blush from Silk Weaver. So, So there's my progress. And I did the Anniversaries of the Heart series, and I'll show that in my next video because that's going to take a little bit to talk through. But I like to personalize these big ones, and in that one I put my parents, my siblings, my in-laws, all of my nieces and nephews, and my grandparents, and my husband's parents and grandparents. I think that was it. It was a lot of birthdays, but I put their initials and birthdays and their anniversaries on there. And it's gorgeous, and I love that. And I've got all the information written on the back. For this one, I want to celebrate the important women in my life. So this is kind of a tribute to the important women in my life. So the first block is dedicated to my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, so my dad's mom. No, that's not. It's dedicated to my own mother. So it's Jennifer, good Lord. And her name is Tracy, and that's a T. The second one is dedicated to my grandmother on my dad's side. Her name was Jessie Mae. She went by Jessie. She went by May. See, it's been a long couple of weeks. My mind's not working, but she went by May. She was my favorite grandmother. I love that lady. And then this one is dedicated to one of my aunts. I have several aunts. My mother had 3 sisters, and my dad had 2 sisters. But this is my Aunt Esalita. So you can see the Y down there. Her name was Esalita, Y-E-S-L-E-T-A. And she was the oldest of 9 children. After she was born, she had 6 younger brothers, and then a younger sister, and then my dad was born. And she was a bossy woman. She was born to a 15-year-old. My grandmother was 15 when she had her first child, and she was, a stubborn, opinionated woman, but she lived with a whole bunch of boys. She had to be, and I just loved my Aunt Salita, and she loved me too, so I always love thinking about her. Then this one is my sister, so the S is for Sharon and the B is for Bridget. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do for this one. I think I'm going to do, I have several cousins that were really close to me growing up, but I don't know if I have enough space for that. And then this block here, how do I do this, is for my favorite faculty member when I was an undergraduate, Patricia Bijot. She's my mentor. And then this one is, what's the name of this one? I just showed you. It's called Climbing the Trellis, and there's 2 of them. And I had 2 best friends in high school, Candy and Christy, and I'm going to dedicate that block to those 2 ladies. So I'm kind of redoing this. I'm using silks, trying to match it to the called for cotton threads. So I've made some color changes, but I try to make it as close to the original colors as possible because I think Blackbird Designs, those ladies are just amazing at how they match things up. So that's something that will get some attention this week. Oh, I just dumped out the silks, but these are the silks that I'm going to be working on. So aren't those pretty? That's how all of my over-dyed silk threads, I'll have them all just on these little thread drops. And I have this big basket that I put everything in. So there's that. And then I already showed you the Croaking Toad Manor. And then my last WIP I'm going to show you for this week is Professor Fizbee's. This is the Wee Beasties Part 3. And I got this at a shop in Alabama last year. And this is, I just want to, people talk about these patterns being so expensive. And sometimes, I'm a biologist, so this makes me super happy. I've stitched one of them. And I actually had a bunch of the other ones and sold them on eBay for a lot cheaper than what I could sell them now. But I was cleaning out my stash and thought, I'll never stitch these. Oh, how I wish I would have saved them. But I found this one at Stitcher's Haven in Guntersville, Alabama. And I just love it. And I'm working on it. This is as far as I've gotten. And I will continue to work on it. So, and the other one I have is the green freebie orchid bee. And I'm actually framing that. I actually framed that and hung it in my office because, I don't have a bug collection, meaning real bugs, but I'm going to have a bug collection of things that I've stitched. Which now brings me to my haul from Salt Lake City. So I'm just going to show you what I bought, and there's an exciting one at the end and some advice. So this is one that I picked up. This is the Giving Thanks, and we all have seen other people with this one, that little lady chasing the turkey, and it's really pretty. It's really cute, let's say that. So cute, cute, cute. Another one I picked up is another Thanksgiving. I was on a Thanksgiving kick, apparently. Thanksgiving and Halloween. But this one's Give Thanks by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. And I know it's hard to see this, but her pictures are dark anyway. Look at the little turkey and pumpkins. So that's cute. I hadn't seen this one, or at least I don't remember seeing it. This is Cottage Garden Witchboard. So I thought that was cute. And then there's another Not Forgotten Farms. I love Not Forgotten Farms, and I love her Santa Clauses and Belle Schnickel and all of that. So this one will be the second one in my series. This is called Happy Christmas. And if you look on the bottom of his little cloak or coat, there's a little village scene. So that's cute. Stitch that one. And then I found this. This is most of these are older ones that I can't find or I've never seen before. And this is from the Cricket collection. And I love this. It's called A Walk in the Woods, or yeah, A Walk in the Woods, Cricut Collection number 53. But look at all those different nature motifs. And I went from Shepherd's Bush to another stitching store. I think it's called the Art Center. I don't remember. But they had this stitched up, and it's not a small piece. But I love that. And then this is I think it's either Italian or a French designer. But it's a Halloween piece. And I think someone else on Flosstube has shown this one already. So cute. Another with that needle and thread, that's an older pattern. This one's 2009. Sad when 2009 is older, but this is called Be Kind and Be True. But it's a Adam and Eve sampler with those pumpkin head people, Michelle from the Stripe Rose. Cute. Also picked up Plum Street Samplers Olga. This is one that I wish I would have bought, and I've always said I wish I would have picked that one up when it was new, and I finally found another one. And then Carriage House Samplings Americana. And then this is one that I think is rather new. I couldn't find a copyright, but it's Tree of Life Samplings, and it's called Penny America. And it's just a little penny rug. Isn't that cute? Cute. I hope my husband's talking outside. I hope it's not coming through and you're hearing him fuss at my kids. All right, then the last thing. This is my advice to people about these old charts. When you go to some of these brick and mortar stores, take your time and look through the patterns, because sometimes things get shuffled around. So at Shepherd's Bush, they have the little magazine holders that have all of the different patterns, and they have them labeled by designer, but they also have them grouped by subject. So say you wanted a Plum Street sampler pattern, an Adam and Eve sampler that's no longer in print. Well, if you look in Plum Street, you may not find it, but if you go to Adam and Eve, you may. So, for example, when I looked in the Butterflies and Bees, I found a Professor Frisbee, a signed Professor Frisbee. That was a special Charlotte Market Edition release, and I paid $7.50 for it. It's the Blue Orchid Bee. So they're out there if you're lucky to find them. So this year I found one. Last year I found the ladybug, and I found a butterfly, and I found moths. So I found 3 of them, and they were like $7.50, $8 a piece. So this is going to be, I'm going to stitch it, hang it up with the other ones in my office. So excited. But so that's my stash. Well, 30 minutes. I thought I would talk longer. The other thing, Shepherd's Bush has a lot of patterns. If you're near there, go and just make sure you have half a day. I stayed for 3 hours, and they were just super sweet. They didn't bother me. They just let me pull and sit on the floor and go through those patterns all the time. I found a primitive needle, her Hallow sampler, the little sampler. Hold on, I'll show you which one. And that's why I didn't buy it, because I have already stitched it. I'll be right back. Let me go around behind you. This one. I saw this chart at the Shepherd's Bush. It was in their Halloween charts. I think she had 3 copies of it, or they had 3 copies. So they're there. And for me, it's fun to find things like that. You know, I don't, honestly, in the past, I would have bought it and kept it and put it on eBay. But now that I have a shop, I don't think it's appropriate for me to do that. I think it's, you know, like I told my husband, it was fun when it was just me and it was like a treasure hunt. But now I'm in a different position, so I don't think it's fair. And so I'll let other people find that treasure. But I'll give you some hints. Go to some of these shops. I know that a lot of people talk about there aren't many shops. There aren't. But I try to do research similar to the way Sherry Burkett, she Googles. I get the Quilter's Companion book that they put out each year that have all the different shops listed. And when I go on a trip, I kind of highlight and see which ones I want to go to. I tried that this trip, but there weren't very many cross-stitch stores. But some of these stores, they have a lot of older charts. You just have to kind of take your time and look for them. And you don't have to pay quite as much. Also, there are a lot of these charts that are going on eBay that are not that hard to get, like the Birds of a Feather charts. I can still order those from Hoffman, so I have them on my my Etsy site. So, you know, you might, and you can go on Hoffman and look and see. They will allow you to look through the online catalog at what's available, and then you just contact your L&S to see if they'll order it for you. So, you know, I think it was Trisha at 3 Owl Threads that happened to her. She bought something and then found out that it's still available. So just be careful. Contact your local needlework and store and ask them before you invest a lot. So we know that things like the Professor Frisbee are hard to find, but take your time on those. Primitive Needle, those are hard to find, but again, just don't get too anxious. You know, I've done it. I've bought things and paid too much for them, and they're still sitting in a box, but I'm trying to get through some of these things. So that's a lot of preaching. I'm sorry. Probably should edit that out, but I'm not. Again, thank you to everyone that has taken the time to listen to my video. It's really fun, and if you are thinking about doing a video, it's so much fun to hear and to kind of be a part of the community. So I highly suggest that you do it. Plus, we all love to see what people are stitching, what they're working on, and what we need to start adding to our ever-growing collection of cross-stitch patterns. So with that, I'm going to close out for the week. I'm going to try to update each week, but the summer semester starts tomorrow, and I'm teaching 2 classes. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's one of them I haven't taught in 11 years, and I'll get through it. It's not the worst thing. But, you know, it'll be a busy 4 weeks. And then July, I only have 1 class, and it's a class I've taught every semester since I started teaching. So that won't be too bad. Hopefully I'll get some more stitching time, and I'll have more to share next week, because I'm hoping, keep your fingers crossed, I'm working on Wine and Whips this week, and it's that alphabet sampler from Birds of a Feather that I was complaining about. My goal is to get that thing finished this week. So hopefully when you see this, my 4th video, you will see that finished. All right, well, have a good week and enjoy your stitching, and I'll see you soon.